Welcome to the UIS Coaches Show. I am Mike Leota. We are pleased to have head coach Olivia Lett join us again this week. Coach, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, always great to have your insight, especially after a home weekend here. Stars took on Truman State and Quincy in a two-game GLVC home stretch. Thursday night, let's start with it. Last week we talked about it, Coach. We were trying to extend this winning streak. Thursday night we got to 3 in a row with a great, dominant 73-50 win over Truman State. First and foremost, have you ever been part of a dominating defensive effort like that second half that you had where you gave up 10 points?
I don't know if we've had a full half like that. I had a couple quarters where they were pretty similar, but to do 2 quarters in a row was really nice. Nice for us to be able to see that our winning really is dependent on the defensive side of stuff. And offense wasn't perfect. We had some things we definitely still needed to clean up. But if we can play defense, we can play with just about anybody.
Yeah, that was a really, really impressive. I mean, 3 points in the fourth quarter, I think, for Truman State. It was just one of those things it was crazy. It was just such a good win, getting to 3 in a row. Let's talk a little bit about game 2 of the weekend against Quincy. A little bit of a tougher challenge against a really, really good Quincy team. Going back to it, on the broadcast, halftime was 32-31, right? And UIS led by 1, and we talked a little bit about it was a good news, bad news situation, right? Because we felt like, hey, we were up by 1, but also turnovers. I think we had 15 in that first half, and the offensive rebounding numbers, I think the margin was -7 at the point. And while we were leading by 1, those needed to improve. Otherwise, it was going to be a tougher second half. Unfortunately, Quincy was able to keep that up, and they made us pay in that second half.
Yeah, it was a sloppy basketball game, I think, for both teams. There was a lot of turnovers. It was not super sharp. I'm sure they weren't exceptionally happy with their first half especially. And, I think we played about the same that we did in the first half, and I think they cleaned some stuff up. And they came out and made some changes. It wasn't necessarily that we played way worse in the third quarter. Yeah. They just played a lot better and executed. They've got a lot of upperclassmen, and I think that really showed in that game. Just a little bit of composure, even though that they were getting frustrated and turned the ball over, they were able to bounce back and be able to figure out, okay, this is where it really fits for us. And I think that's one of the things that was a huge difference between Truman and Quincy for us, was just how much we took care of the ball in the Truman game as well. And that's something that gets overlooked in some of the other things. I think we only had 10 turnovers in that game, and then came back and had 30 2 nights later. And I think, it's growing pains, it's being young, it's being inexperienced, and realizing, that Thursday night game was some of the heavier minutes that our posts have played. And then to turn around and have another tough post matchup on Saturday, they're very post dominant. We weren't quite ready for it yet, and so I think this week that gives us something to really think about. Southwest Baptist has a big inside at 6'6", and so we're going to have another tough post matchup. I haven't actually looked at Saturday, and I don't know the league nearly as well, and so we'll see what Saturday looks like, but got to bounce back and try to get that win on Thursday.
Yeah, in a lot of those turnovers, you got to give Quincy a lot of credit. That is it's an athletic, and it's a physical team. And talking a little bit about that post work, Chomp Donzo, Samir Williams, they were so good in the post defensively, right? I mean, they were getting deflections. They were making it very, very difficult. You said we got another tough matchup on Thursday. What do we learn from this game, and what do our posts, especially, Alicia and, Dee kind of struggled a little bit getting into the lane. What do we learn? What do we take from that'll help us on Thursday night?
We watched all the turnovers. We watched all the offensive rebounds because I think when you're getting frustrated and you're giving up that many offensive rebounds, you feel like you're getting fouled, especially in the turnovers. Mm-hmm. And it was a physical game, but I thought that Quincy played through it, and that's why they got some of the calls that they got. Not that I feel like they got an exceptional amount by any means. I think it was physical both ways, but it was good for us to see you're not really getting fouled. And I think getting ready for Southwest Baptist, that's a big deal. A 6'6" kid going up for rebounds against our 5'7" kid, she's going to get a lot of them, and it's not going to be a foul. And so we talked about the difference between, being over the back and on the back. Over the back's not a foul. If they're bigger than us, we've got to make sure we drive them under the rim or we drive them back and make sure that either they're on our back or that we end up with the rebound and not just hope that, a foul's going to get called. We got to make sure that we're all pursuing it.
Yeah, and that's a great point. I think when fans look at it, you just look at a box score and you say, oh my gosh, they had so many offensive rebounds. A lot of people look and say, oh, you got to box out. And sometimes you look at an effort-wise. Certainly that's a little part of it, but as we know, there's a lot more to defensive team rebounding. What did you see on the film? Was there breakdowns offensively or defensively that were hurting our ability to rebound in spots? What really was the thing that you saw once you got a chance to look at the film a little bit more?
This week we've talked about making a pointed effort to go find somebody to box out, and it's not always your person. With the way that our defense works, there's lots of rotations, and so you always have to make a pointed effort to go either box somebody out or to go pursue. And one of the things I think Quincy did really well was I thought that they made contact on shots really early. And by the time we were ready to make that contact, the ball was already hitting the rim. And I thought that they did a really, really good job of kind of moving us or getting themselves in position as the ball was in the air before it ever hit the rim.
Okay.
And that's something that we've tried to in the last 2 days, make sure that we prepare for a little bit more and figure that out from a strategy-wise.
Yeah, great stuff there. Thank you. Let's switch gears just a little bit. Your time at Millick, and one of the things you were really known for in the success was player development. Players over the course of 4 years really got better as players. And for me, watching a lot of basketball the last couple of years, there's a player that I've seen this year that I think has gotten a lot better under your guidance leadership, and that's Saharra Murphy. When I looked at Saharra Murphy a couple of years ago when she first came here and like her first couple of years really getting into UIS basketball, this was a player that, played hard, a lot of good defense. It was a player that kind of struggled sometimes finishing at the rim. Shooting-wise wasn't really there. Some scouting reports, they would really dare her to shoot, right? And the free throw shooting was always kind of a little bit of an issue. This is a player now that in all those categories has gotten light years better. Tell me a little bit about her development, what you and your staff have been able to do to help her and put her in a role now where she's having her best year as a Prairie Star.
Yeah, one of our first conversations, she asked me just about, okay, what is your plan for this year, right? She's only got 1 year, so it wasn't just about what are we going to do in the future. And I think that shows how much of a competitor she is. Probably more than anybody on the team, she hates to lose and she wants to compete. And I think you see her smile more this year just because she is enjoying it and enjoying the idea of like, yes, I'm playing hard, but that's what makes it fun, right?
Yeah.
The idea of really, really competing. And I think she does it every single day in practice. And because she shows up every day in practice and is trying to get better every single day in practice, it's what you see on the court. And just kind of the building the confidence part of it, I want her to be a part of our offense. And our offense really does start with the point guard. And we aren't set heavy. Yes, we run probably more than what I normally like to, just to get us some looks, but we're not set heavy. We want to go, and we go as she goes in terms of pace. And if she's moving the ball up the floor with the pass or getting it into the lane, then good things happen for us. And it's been good to see her finish, especially these last 3 or 4 games around the rim, and really be confident with that, and not just have it be something where when she gets ticked off, she's going at the rim, right?
Yeah.
She's doing it earlier in games and finding ways to find her shot, and I think that's an adjustment for her, but I think she's doing a really good job of it. All season she's been good on the board, she's been good on the defensive end, and so now it's just adding those last little pieces to her game.
Yeah, it's been noticeable. It really has. And, just seeing, like you said, I think the finishes at the rim have been so much better, and just being a little bit more of an offensive threat. I mean, I think she averaged, 10.5 this weekend?
I know she's averaging around
right?
6 for the season, which is pretty good, and her shooting percentages are very solid. They don't stand out as anything that you're going to play off of, and I think that's something that we talk about a lot, is taking great shots, not just good shots, and she's really embraced that.
Yeah, absolutely. We talked about it on the broadcast. Saharra Murphy goes out and gets you 8 to 12 points a game. You're a different team, with that and everything. But it's been noticeable with Saharra what she's been able to do. I think, a lot of credit goes to you and your coaching staff for being able to help her and develop her as a person and player. And it's been really good with that. So, Coach, we appreciate you joining us. Good luck this week. We'll be watching you guys on the road this week. Again, the Stars will be at Southwest Baptist on Thursday night with a 5:30 tip, and then on Saturday they'll be at Rockhurst with a 12 p.m. tip from Kansas City. For head coach Olivia Lett, I'm Michael Iota. This has been the UIS Coaches Show.